If, like me, you were a British teenager growing up in the 2010s watching reruns of Friends on E4, then you might have seen an advert or two for obscure sci-fi comedy drama Misfits. If you've never seen it, 5 numpties on community service get caught in a freaky freak storm, freakishly turning them all into freaks. Misfits is one of those very frustrating shows that didn't seem to understand what made it great. It understood what made it good. It didn't understand what made it great, and unfortunately it also didn't understand what made it bad. But at its best, Misfits really had the potential to be one of the best young adult British dramas on TV, able to stand up against shows like Skins or Sex Education. But as the show went on, it sort of forced itself into obscurity, because it was a fairly popular show when it came out. But if you ask someone nowadays if they've seen Misfits, it's either no or I stopped watching after Nathan left. The downfall of this show is what I want to explore today, and also I reckon I have a pretty quick fix that would have solved all the problems faced in the show's later seasons. It'll be kind of a rambly video, not a huge amount of structure, but you know, I like this show, it's nostalgic for me and I want to talk about it. Series 1 of the show introduces us to our gang of misfits. Kelly, Simon, Alicia, Curtis and Nathan. Anyone familiar with the show would probably agree that the main strength of Misfits comes from the characters and their dynamics with each other. From the first scene of episode 1, the natural, quick delivery of the dialogue is made clear, almost every single line being perfectly fitted to introduce each character.
Some people are just born criminals. Are you looking to get stabbed? You see my point there?
In my community service.
Hey.
Boring as fuck.
Excuse me.
Shouldn't be here,
Look,
man.
we need to work as a team here.
Yeah?
This isn't gonna work for me.
What makes you feel that you're better than us?
What is that accent?
Is that for real?
Even the lack of dialogue from Simon tells us about his character. Misfits is definitely one of those shows that isn't afraid to make their characters pretty unlikable from the jump. Simon in series 1 is a borderline sociopathic to the point where I almost don't believe he could ever become the man he is in series 3. Kelly just argues with everyone. Alicia's quite stuck up and lacks any sort of empathy. Curtis is more likable, but he's very insecure about the mistakes he's made in the past and sort of makes that everyone else's problem. And then there's Nathan.
You'd screw your own sister for a slice of cheese.
I don't even like cheese.
That makes it even worse, you sick bastard.
Whilst most would agree he is the best character in the show, he really toes the line between likeable and completely irritating, insufferable, a dickhead. Shortly after we're introduced to the gang, the famous storm hits, which is the cause of the power bullshit that sets the entire show into motion. In keeping with character being the main strength of the show, even the powers each one of them gets is some sort of manifestation of their internal struggles or personality. Alicia used to use her sexuality almost as a weapon, using her ability to seduce men to her advantage, and so she gets the ability to turn anyone she touches into a sex-crazed maniac. The powers aren't all positive, by the way. Curtis regrets his past, ending up doing community service, and so gets the ability to turn back time. Kelly is constantly worried about judgment from others so she can read minds. Simon feels invisible and so can turn invisible. Nathan, that's a spoiler, we're not there yet.
What's he doing?
He's trying to smash the bottle with his mind.
I think he's gonna shit himself.
Oh, bullshit! I've got a power, I know it. I can feel it in my balls.
Listen to me.
Even with the villains, this is a pretty consistent trait. Probation worker number 1 has anger issues and so turns into a violent freak. This guy is very protective of his daughter and so turns into a violent, protective freak. This guy likes tattoos and can give people tattoos that do the thing that the tattoo is, or something. This guy pours milk and so can control milk. It's all neat stuff. Look, if you've never seen this show and my description is the first you've heard of it, you might be wondering why am I talking about this? And why are you listening? On the surface, it does seem like a subpar superhero comedy drama by Channel 4, but it's worth noting that below the surface, Misfits really had something special. In the first 2 seasons especially, the balance of comedy and dark serious drama was genuinely expertly done.
What the hell are you doing?
It's just pure mindless vandalism.
Are you mentally deficient?
If I was mentally deficient, I would have missed. Check that out. Bullseye.
They knew when to play it straight and serious and when to let loose and indulge in the absurdity of what's happening. Early on, an aspect I really admired about Misfits was its narrative accountability, which can be a rare thing in media. Its ethical framing seemed very thought out. What I mean by this is, Misfits knew to what extent it should acknowledge the weight of issues. For example, episode 3, Alicia, as you know, has the ability to turn people she touches into a sex-crazed maniac. Her and Curtis have been flirting a bunch and she ends up using her power on him. The rest of the episode really explores Curtis's feelings towards this. Alicia isn't let off the hook. Curtis confronts her over and over again, trying to get her to see why what she did was wrong. This not only makes for a less frustrating watch because our worries around the issue are being acknowledged and validated, but it gives Alicia a character arc. She's shown that she can't flaunt her sexuality around like she used to. Consent isn't just a given because she's pretty. That's not how it works. And yeah, it's messed up that she didn't know this before, but this show is about messed up people. In these first 2 seasons, the focus on giving characters arcs and, things to do was so prevalent. Whether it was an episode that centered around one character's journey, like episode 4, where Curtis is given the opportunity to travel back in time to the night that got him his community service, and also this gives us the best reveal of a character's past in the whole show.
What did you do?
Me? I was done for eating some pick'n mix.
Bollocks. Does anyone actually know what he got done for? Does he got done for eating a pick and mix?
That's bullshit.
Or an episode more centered around the gang as a whole, like episode 5, where they're clamoring trying to keep their new probation worker from finding the body of the first probation worker they killed, who's also her fiance. The show, in my opinion, is at its best towards the end of series 1 and the start of series 2. It's in episode 6 of series 1 where this woman has brainwashed half of London to be pure Christian teens, and Nathan delivers a speech that really encapsulates the themes of the show.
We're screw-ups. I'm a screw-up, and I plan to be a screw-up until my late 20s, maybe even my early 30s. And I will shag my own mother before I let her or anyone else take that away from me.
The themes of the show: responsibility, growing up, the tribulations that come with becoming an adult. Those are the themes of the show, not being a fucking superhero. But episode 6 is not only where we meet the masked man, which is the only good running plot thread this show will ever have, but we also get the best twist the show will ever have, when Nathan dies.
Save me, Barry!
And it's revealed what his power is.
I'm immortal. That's it? I've got a power!
Also, a cool little thing to note is this was sort of revealed back in episode 4. One of the times Curtis goes back in time, he changes the past so that he never ended up doing community service, but that meant he wasn't there to turn back time and save the gang from the probation worker in episode 1. But who shows up at the community centre? I don't know, just cool little detail. Shows they thought about things, which is always good.
So if you're not dead, how come you smell so bad?
I appear to have shat myself.
Series 2 is a slight upgrade from 1. All the establishing characters and dynamics is out of the way, and now we can just have them as purely as the glue that binds all these kind of lackluster plots together. Nathan now being immortal as well makes him even more annoying, and in turn funnier.
Yeah, so my mum opens the door and she's like, ah! And I'm like, I'm immortal! And then she fainted. Face plants on the radiator, there's blood and teeth everywhere.
I do love a show that isn't afraid to make their characters unlikable. To me, it shows trust in the audience, and I respect that. I mean, at their core, these are, I guess, morally good people, maybe. I mean, they do kill a lot, but it's the little moments like when the gang are having a chat outside whilst handing cups of water to marathon runners, and Nathan does this for absolutely no reason.
Prick.
Like, it's good stuff, it's funny stuff. I do think Nathan being in this show is also so important because it allows for more serious plot elements to be there without turning this show into a cliche. This series explores more of the masked man who sort of pops in and saves the gang every now and then, and it's revealed in episode 3 that that man is Simon from the future who travelled back in time to sacrifice himself to save Alicia, who ought to, and also make her fall in love. See, it can all get a bit hokey pokey without a big unserious character, bringing the levity as much as Nathan does. Episode 4 of Series 2 is probably my favourite episode of the show, either that or episode 1. Maybe there's one in Series 4 that I love, but we'll get there later. Episode 4 introduces us to a new member of the gang, Ollie, and this is where the group's growth in dynamics really pays off. Their suspiciousness towards Ollie is very fun to watch, and their complete disrespect towards him is hilarious. He dies straight away though. Tim is probably the best villain in the show, which isn't saying much, seeing as, the milkman probably comes directly after him, followed by a 6-foot-tall rabbit in a suit. For a show about what Misfits is about, it's weird they've only really had one, very effective villain. It's really the acting that makes him stand out. The storm essentially made Tim think he's living a GTA-style video game. I also love the fact that Nathan, just being a dick, basically got them all into this mess.
Where's Conti?
Oh, that's him. He's a right cunty.
I want my money.
Give the man his money.
I haven't got your money.
The last episode of Series 2 is the highest rated episode of the show, and whilst I do really like it, it does have a few plot issues that I find hard to ignore. The gang gets outed for their powers and basically becomes celebrities, along with a load of other supers who were also affected by the storm.
Okay.
Now, this is all fine. Later down the line, it seems like every single fucking person in London was struck by the lightning from this storm because everyone has a power. But by this point, it's been fairly minimal. I mean, we're only 12 episodes in, and so I'm fine with the reveal that more people have been affected. This episode has some really great stuff in it, though. The milkman, played by the genie from Genie in the House. Yeah, that's a blast from the past.
Back in Belamkadar in the 4th century, there was someone who ate like that.
Who?
My father's dog.
Nathan blows his brains out on TV. There's some good stuff in it. Adil ends up killing everyone though with his milk powers, except for Curtis because he's very conveniently lactose intolerant.
Does that mean you're afraid of cows?
Simon gets stabbed and then says to Curtis, "You need to reverse time so that we can punch the milkman in the face." And then everything's fine. Bit of a cop-out ending. I mean, I don't know what else they could have done. I mean, the status quo had to be restored, but still, it's a bit like, oh, you could have just done that whenever, really. Also, Simon finds out about his future in this episode, and then he doesn't have to be retold after Curtis turns back time. I don't know if they didn't think about this or they just couldn't be bothered, but I mean, obviously Simon should not remember any of this, but whatever. We get a Christmas episode after this. It's pretty solid. We get introduced to the concept of buying and selling powers, which will become a big plot thread in Series 3. When I said earlier that the strengths of Misfits comes from the group dynamics, what I mean is the creator of this show, Howard Overman, is great at characters and comedy and dialogue, but when it comes to plot, he's not very good. As the series goes on, you'll find yourself constantly questioning the logic of this show. Like in this episode, why has this Jesus guy got so many followers when most people seem to have powers? They know about powers. There's posters on the walls advertising buying and selling them. And this guy's walking on water and everyone's like, holy fuck, it's Jesus. These unthought out aspects do become increasingly more and more common as the show goes on. But that's the end of Series 2 and the end of Misfits being a very consistently good show. Because Series 3 is probably my least favourite series, which may surprise anyone who's watched this show in its entirety. Right, before I start dogpiling on this awful series, we have a new character added into the mix. I love Rudy. For me, I think he slightly edges over Nathan. Is that am I saying that right? But I can't help but feel he was hard done by. Robert Sheehan left after Series 2 because he rightly felt it was time to move on, and Joseph Gilgan was brought in as a replacement. Side note, I recently binged all of the This Is England mini-series, and casting Gilgan in this was genuinely the best decision they could have possibly made. Issue is, no matter what the character of Rudy was going to be, he was always going to be seen as a replacement for Nathan.
He sort of fitted into the gang unbelievably well, and actually anyone who's seen the show says they don't miss Nathan, and it's like that he's sort of quite natural that he's gone.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, yeah, he's the comedic linchpin and has the chaotic and loose energy, but I think he has enough of his own distinct traits that separates him from Nathan. Oh shit, I forgot to mention, there was a 15-minute mini episode where Nathan goes to Vegas with his new powers and tries to win big on the roulette table but gets arrested. It's pretty funny, but that's truly the last we see of him. And also the first time we meet Rudy. Anyway, so the main trait of Rudy's that makes him such an interesting character comes from his power.
I think you can get rid of me, I'm a part of you. Cool power guy with the suits? You could have sorted all this bullshit out, but oh no, you had to make a big drama, didn't you? I'm not gonna let you bury me.
Rudy has emotional duplication, meaning he can split into two, yes, technically three, but that's a spoiler, versions of himself. His more emotional, insecure, and kinder self literally splits out of him either when he wants to or when he's feeling especially insecure or exposed. It's probably the last case of a power giving actual depth to a character rather than it just being some random ability.
Oh, you're such a whiny little bitch. If you hate me, you hate yourself. Nobody loves themselves more than I do, mate. I'd fuck myself in an heartbeat, wouldn't I?
Now, sure, call him what he is. Rudy is Nathan's replacement. He replaced Nathan. But especially in Series 3, he doesn't satisfy the hole left by Nathan's absence. Robert Sheehan not only brought something to the role I think would have been impossible to emulate. I mean, I've spoken way more about his character than anyone else on the show so far. But he was also just written funnier.
Come on, Barry, you're good at this stuff. Think of something.
Who's Barry?
You are.
His name is Simon.
I thought it was Barry. Sorry, man.
That was 6 episodes in, by the way. Both being the comedic centre of Misfits doesn't necessarily mean they do it the same way. And Nathan was just... he was funnier. There's moments with Rudy that make me chuckle, don't get me wrong, but Nathan consistently made me laugh every episode. Rudy's he's more goofy. Silly. I find him to be very likeable, but I have to address the fact that losing Nathan hurt the show in a big way. Now, part of what makes me hate this series is the fact that Rudy feels so tacked on. He doesn't really gel with the original gang at all. They've all gone through their arcs, except for Simon becoming the masked man, which has pretty much lost all intrigue now due to it being set in stone and we see where he ends up. Rudy's a great character by himself, but not once in Series 3 do I feel like he's actually part of the group. Every time they're hanging out together, it feels like they all met independently and he just happened to be there. Oh, the group also got new powers at the end of the Christmas episode, and, you know, sure, they've sort of explored everything character-based they needed to through their powers, but now they're just random abilities that don't add anything to their characters at all. Curtis can now turn into a woman. Kelly is a rocket scientist, which forces this very cringe, unfunny catchphrase.
I'm a fucking rocket scientist!
Simon can see into the future, and he uses it like 3 times. Alicia can look through perspectives of others or something, and she uses it like 3 times. By Series 3, all agency for these characters are lost, and Rudy is a black sheep in a sea of mindless zombies. I'm actually a big fan of Episode 1, as we get a lot of focus on Rudy, and he's not yet been forced into the group. Rudy 2 breaking down about his shared history with Alicia is great. Post this episode though, the episode plots just get so depressingly meh. When I say these characters no longer have anything to do, there are episodes that have storylines centered around 1 or 2 of them, but we're now at the point where an episode starts, you know, it gives a character an internal problem to address, they address it, and then that's the end. And meanwhile, all the other characters just dick around and let the plot happen to them. Series 1 and 2, every character, even if the episode wasn't focused on them, was still dealing with some sort of internal struggle or provided something to the story. But not anymore. Episode 2 of Series 3 centers around Curtis using his power of becoming a woman to compete in athletics. I get it's an opportunity to explore a past aspect of this character, but it does sort of feel like an afterthought. It's episode 4 of Series 1 had Curtis learning to be content with his situation, and now he's sort of going back on that by trying to relive his past using his new power. I mean, yeah, they also use this episode to explore Curtis's perspective on women, but this is in no way the focus of his arc in this episode. But Kelly in this episode, holy fucking shit. She has nothing to do, and it's so blatant. Simon is the only one who knows what Curtis looks like when he's a woman, and Kelly every now and then sort of sees Simon talking to female Curtis, or in this scene sees Simon talking to female Curtis, and so obviously Simon's cheating. Why cheating? Why cheating on Alicia? Fucking hell.
We need some manufactured drama, because otherwise I've got fuck all to do in this episode.
What's going on with you, Simon?
And this series is full of shit like this, just characters with nothing to do. Even the zombie episode, which is probably the best one of the series, it's only interesting because of the zombies. Kelly's the only character with real stakes in that story. Curtis is just the reason it all happens. Rudy's just there. He has a phobia of cheerleaders. Simon and Alicia are just there. Simon wants Alicia to dress up as a cheerleader for his birthday. Fucking sucks. Also, Series 3 contains probably the worst written episode of the entire show. Episode 4 of Series 4, an old Jewish man goes back in time to kill Hitler. He fails and Hitler finds his phone. The Jewish man comes back to present day to find history has been rewritten and the Nazis actually won World War II because of the phone that Hitler found.
Fucking Nazis.
Shut your fucking mouth!
Okay, cool. Very grand premise. They took a risk. Only problem is, if you think about the plot for one single second, everything falls apart. It's treated more like a parallel universe rather than time being rewritten, which is what happened. The gang are still all there, surprisingly not part of the Nazi regime. They probably would be. Come on, be real. The probation worker is the same. Everything's the exact same. Just there's Nazis walking around and swastikas hung up here and there. Really, really bad episode. This is what happens when Howard Overman leans too hard into plot territory when that is not your strength, Howie. The final episode of Series 3 makes me wanna hop feet first into one of those big industrial shredders. You know the ones, crunchy crunch crunch. Mark Heap turns up and starts bringing people back from the dead. He brings back Tony, the first probation worker who was killed by the gang in episode 1, Sally, the second probation worker who was killed by Simon, and the brainwashing girl from the last episode of series 1. The one who was essentially killed by Nathan, who isn't even here. Simon was, he was there but invisible, and the rest of the gang was brainwashed, okay? They were brainwashed by her. Keep that in mind, please. The episode basically is about, these 3 dead people finishing their unfinished business, and then so that they can then go back to the afterlife. Sally thinks that she's there to get revenge or something. First she tries to convince Simon to sleep with her, and he almost does, which makes absolutely no sense. They start kissing, and then Sally sends the video of them to Alicia, and she's like, what the fuck? And he's like, no, I didn't actually sleep with her, baby. I didn't go through with it in the end. And Alicia's like, oh, that's cute. You just kissed her passionately and then laid on the bed with her while she was half naked.
Kissing her only made me realize how much I love you.
Completely out of character for both of them, especially for a man whose entire personality trait in this series is he's in love with his girlfriend. But okay. Anyway, Sally and Tony disappear. They finished their unfinished business or something or whatever. I think that it was like, oh, we gotta be together again. I don't know. But brainwashing girl, this is where it gets fucked. So first she thinks that her unfinished business is she needs to smoke and fuck and drink and fucking drink, smoke, fuck, drink, because she died and saw that there was no God. Sick. But then 10 minutes before the episode ends, she changes her mind. I guess she's having a bad come down from whatever she smoked earlier, I don't know. And she realizes that she's actually here to get her revenge. On who? You fell from that building. If anyone's to blame, it's Nathan, who you haven't even mentioned by this point. You kind of just fell. It was your own fault. All of these people had nothing to do with it. They were brainwashed. She accidentally kills Alicia with a box cutter, and then she disappears like that was her business finished. Why did that do it? What did slicing Alicia's throat have anything to do with anything? Were the unfinished business gods like, oh, fuck it, send her back. She's just doing random shit at this point. Anyway, Alicia's dead. So now it's time for Simon to go back in time to save her in the past, to then die for her so that she can live and then die. So then he can then go back in time. Very bad stuff. Very unsatisfying. I get that it's the thing of like, oh well, any more amount of time together is a gift. But her dying here does sort of make Simon's sacrifice a tinsy bit pointless. Like, this whole thing was so that she could stay alive for like, what, 2 or 3 months, if that? It hasn't been that long at all. I mean, Series 5 of this show has an episode dedicated to the 1-year anniversary of the storm, so, nah, fuck you. Series 3 sucks. Right, so as messy as Series 4 is, the first half for me is miles better than any of 3. It really feels stripped back, personal stories, no grand bullshit, and also Series 4 is what made me realise what this show should have done from the very start, which I will reveal later. Kelly's gone, Simon's gone, Alicia's gone, Rudy's still here, Curtis is still here, and Kelly's boyfriend for some reason is still here, but to be fair, I do like their dynamic. Rudy feels more of a focus now rather than an add-on. He's on a level playing field to the others, and I like that for his character. This series also introduces us to Jess and Finn. Finn is so-so, the actor's pretty good, I can see why they cast him, but he's not the most likeable guy ever, not in a fun way. He's a bit pathetic and doesn't have many redeeming qualities. Jess, on the other hand, is a very good character. She has depth, she's interesting, she bounces off Rudy really well, and she's likeable while still having a lot of hard edges. But also the plots have really been stripped down here. I mean, episode 1 is about a guy with the power to make people obsess over a briefcase full of money and the gang getting infected in the community centre. A nice little basic storyline to introduce these new characters to us. It's good. But episode 3, genuinely the best episode since the series 2 days, and it really doesn't get enough recognition. In this episode, we find out Rudy actually split off into 3 people when he was affected by the storm. We've met the original and Rudy too, but there's a secret third one, a manifestation of Rudy's darkest aspects, who's been in prison for months since the storm. This episode contains so many great moments where Joe Gilgan can really flex his range, which he rarely gets to do in this series.
You don't know anything about me, so don't act like you do.
You act all tough and sassy. That's an act. I see right through you.
That and his infatuation towards Jess results in a dialogue scene that, for Misfits, had me genuinely impressed. Evil Rudy and Jess go back and forth confessing parts of their past. We learn a little from Jess and then a little from Rudy. All the while, in between each confession, the DJ setting up for a disco at the community centre keeps accidentally playing the Macarena. This carries throughout the conversation until Rudy snaps and beats the DJ to death. There's so much more great stuff in this episode, and if you haven't seen it in a while, I would urge you to rewatch it because it is miles better than anything that comes later or slightly earlier. But enough praising, because now I have to talk about Curtis. Why he stayed on for these 4 episodes, I have absolutely no idea. Curtis becomes so separated from the group, I'm struggling to think of any times he actually conversed with Finn or Jess. Curtis meets a woman early on in the series who turns out to be some crazy storm girl affected by the storm. She thinks she's acting a movie role or something. Anyway, Curtis ends up shooting himself in the head because he's going to turn into a zombie. I really can't be asked to give any more context. Curtis and this awful plotline is just so sidelined. He doesn't even feel like he's in the same show as everyone else. It's really strange. So Curtis dies like a couple episodes in series 4. I guess I should now introduce the last 2 main characters we get, and then I'll go into my idea for how the show should have fixed itself. Alex is a barman. He has pretty much no personality. There are 2 episodes, one in series 4 and one in 5, when he has a tiny arc centered around him realizing that helping people is good. I think they forgot that they already did it, so just wrote another one. And Abby, who I hate so much. Abby's introduced towards the end of series 4 in a pretty good episode, by the way, where they go to a house party and they have to defeat a 6-foot-tall rabbit. Anyway. But yeah, Abby's introduced in that episode, and she kind of just joins the group for no reason. She thinks she has amnesia, but it turns out in series 5 she's actually a manifestation of someone's imaginary friend who was brought to life by the storm, which is kind of an interesting idea. I like, the introduction of a new character and realizing that they were created by the storm, rather than just having powers like everyone else. But there's something about the way she speaks that really irks me. I hate her personality, it angers me.
You should just choose which one you want to be with.
Fuck off, you stupid, weird cunt!
I don't like her, and Alex really sucks. Now, here's the thing. The second half of series 4 and all of series 5 are just sort of boring episode after mediocre plotline. but I can't help but feel this is mainly due to the characters. Series 1 and 2 didn't have the best plot lines ever. I mean, they were better written than these, but it worked because of the character dynamics, how they bounced off each other. Nathan and Kelly, Nathan and Simon, Alicia and Curtis, Alicia and Kelly, Curtis and Nathan, the probation worker and the gang. But having Series 3 be like a mishmash of, tired versions of the original gang with Rudy stitched on, and then Series 4 keeping Curtis hanging by a thread until Howard ran out of things to do with him and so killed him off. Introducing Jess and Finn, getting rid of Kelly's boyfriend who actually fit in quite well with the group, and then introducing two of the worst characters ever. It's a complete mess. Even if the characters were all great, they wouldn't be able to save a structural dumpster fire this messy. And this also brings up an issue that I haven't yet touched on, which is the community fucking service. It's an interesting setting and it's a staple of the show, but when you're following the same group of characters for a prolonged stretch of time, eventually they're gonna finish their community service. And what are you gonna do then? Well, Series 3 Episode 1 ends with Rudy taking the gang for a spin in a car, which turns out to be stolen. So, as multiple time offenders, straight back to community service they go. Abby pretends to be on community service because she's caught in the community centre by Greg. Oh shit, I forgot to talk about Greg. Greg is the last interesting character added to the show, but then they ruin him by constantly using his sexuality as a punchline. Anyway, so Abby gets community service for real after it turns out she was lying about having community service, and Alex gets community service for breaking into the community centre. My point is, they need to be on community service to keep the same narrative setting the series was built on, but it gets to a point where it feels so contrived, so forced. Not only that, but the reasons the original gang got community service was extremely character based. They added context to who they were, but it just becomes a throwaway gag to get them into the orange jumpsuits after Series 3. So my solution to all this fuckery is simple. Just do a skins. Every 2 seasons, replace all the characters, new batch of community service doers, new dynamics, fresh start. It would have solved everything. I know Finn and Jess aren't amazing characters, and Abby and Alex suck fat dick, but I can't help but think they would be a lot more tolerable in the group, and the group would work way better if they were introduced as a collective at the beginning of the series. It's this holding on to characters from the past that made this show lose its identity. Not only would it solve the cast gelling issue and the community service fuckery, but it would also allow the scope of the world to be kept limited. Every episode we get a new person with powers from the storm. By Series 5 it seems like everyone in London was affected. And like, how is this not worldwide news? It makes no sense. If we had a soft reset every 2 series, we could keep that scope limited to the community centre, and the show wouldn't feel the need to expand the lore, which Howard isn't very good at doing anyway. There's some promising stuff in Series 4 and 5, and some actual good episodes. Rudy is a great character. Watch this scene of him eating roast dinner sauces with no context.
Whoa!
Rudy, you're gonna make yourself sick.
Nah, that's funny stuff. By the end of Series 5, him and Jess's relationship that sparks is the only thing I care about, but I do weirdly care about it. As much as I did, if not more, than Simon and Alicia's. But with Series 5's arc being centered around the gang becoming superheroes, it's clear to me that Howard completely forgot what this show was even about in the first place. But yeah, anyway, that's it. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. If you're new, maybe give that the little subscribe button maybe click the little subscribe button. Yeah, that's it. That's it really. Yeah. Bye.